So we left off about the first signs of, something was wrong with her, which would be her throwing up every time she would eat something. And sometimes as Black people, we do tend to ignore things. Like if something is wrong, we have a thing where we're like, I ain't going to the doctor. Like, I'm gonna figure this shit out. I'm gonna change my diet. Like we do that. And in this case, my sister was in the gym. She was very, she was always known to be a healthy person. So with that happening, she kind of took it as, okay, maybe I should change up my diet and, just continue to try to be healthy. And then the migraines, they started as well. We were in church one Sunday, and because I would go to church, I would ride with my sister because I just love being around her. So we get to church, on a certain Sunday, and she said, I don't feel good. And she's like, my head hurting. She had the worst migraine. And he was there, and his demeanor didn't even ask like if she was okay. He was just looking, like staring at her. Like, I wish I could like describe the type of stare he was doing when he was looking at her. And I'll never forget it, because I was sitting right there and I was like, you want to leave? Like, should we go? She was like, no, we got to stay for the Sunday service. We got to stay. I'll be all right. I said, okay. And, that situation got brushed off. Fast forward, I want to say like 2 years later, because my dad ends up passing away from prostate cancer. And she's starting to get sicker now. But it wasn't like a harsh sick. It was more so like a slow type, creeping up on you type sick. So with that, now she's actually, kind of concerned about what's going on, because, now, you're really not keeping much down. You're starting to lose a little weight, and things just don't feel right. And she would say this to, me, or say it to my mom all the time. But me, I just, I'm like, you're the strongest person I know. Like, I that was me, like, but I also was like, what's really going on here? Another thing that, bothers me is he would always leave. Like on weekends, he was like, he's going golfing and shit like that, with the people at the church. And I'm going to get into that in another video about where the fuck he really was going at. So, yeah, he's leaving. He's going golfing, shit like that. And every time he would leave, my sister would get sicker. And even more sicker. And then there was an incident where he had to go visit his mother in Belize. And he was actually there for like a good 2 weeks, I believe. So I was at my sister's house chilling with her. He ain't there. I don't like this nigga. We chilling. We doing our sisterly shit. Like, we doing what we doing. All of a sudden, she starts throwing up. She say, hold on. She starts throwing up. She's sick. She said, I'm not feeling too good right now, man. So, we lay down or whatever like that. Watch a little movie. She falls asleep. So let's pause and talk about what he was doing in Belize. So apparently, they practice this type of, black magic and root and shit like that. I believe, they would call him a warlock. His mother actually is a victim of the root. She's a victim. And I'm going to say this, and I need you to try to follow me, okay? Whatever they were doing in Belize, they were doing some shit that made the mother still be alive, even though she was already gone, right? And that's going to be another key thing in one of my videos about how, oh God, oh. But anyway, yeah, that's what he was doing out in Belize. He was practicing, putting this on my sister to make it worse than what it was. Now, let me go back a little bit as well, because I'm missing some things and y'all just got to bear with me. The military situation, he got out of the military because he so-called broke his ankle, his kneecap or something, and then he got out of the military and he started to collect checks. Now, while my sister is, sick, trying to figure out what's going on with her, we finally get her to the doctors or whatever, and at first they're telling my sister that she has diabetes. My sister never had diabetes, and that's another thing. They misdiagnosed her. She never had diabetes. So, they started giving her, insulin and shit like that, just in case, she would need it or whatever like that. And he enjoyed that. He enjoyed sending her to the hospital so many times. It's like he was waiting for this is it type shit, right? So, Jesus Christ, y'all. So she's, right now she's thinking that, the diabetes or, what they misdiagnosed her with is part of what was going on. Now, my sister didn't start speaking on, the root being put on her until we had this one doctor appointment, which I will get into that in a minute. So yeah, he was out there, practicing, making sure that whenever he would leave, he would make sure that she would get sicker and sicker. It wasn't poisoning. So let's just stop there, because people like to say it wasn't poison. This is what people actually do in practice when they want to keep you held down, keep you in a low vibrational state to where you don't really want to do shit but actually be home while he's out doing what the fuck he's doing, right? It just really starts to get worse now. She's losing rapid weight. It's so rapidly, like it just happened, like it was slow, but it happened really fast, right? So we are, we're 4 years, we're 4 or 5 years in, because her sickness lasted about 8 years. It started, with the throwing up, and then, yeah. So, let's fast forward 4 to 5 years now. My sister has lost so much weight. So much weight. He looked like he was actually gaining a lot of weight. Like, it's like she was losing it and he was getting fatter. I can't explain the shit, right? But that's exactly how it was. This is where she starts to open up about what the fuck is really going on. She told me that one night, it was like maybe 3 o'clock in the morning, I believe, he was up chanting around the fucking house. She pretended like she was asleep. She was chanting in the house. She said when she looked over at the windows turned red. She said the windows turned red. And that moment is when she knew that this bitch ass nigga was doing some bullshit on her. But she didn't too much mention it to me yet. She was basically now seeing that he was actually putting something on her. This is a healthy woman. This is a woman who has so much going on for herself. And all of a sudden she just starts to deteriorate out of no fucking where. While he's out golfing and shit on the fucking weekends. So he said he was, right? But he wasn't. Whew. Fast forward another year. My sister starts to lose partial eyesight, and she starts to really just, it looked like the soul was being sucked out of her. She went from being, a nice thick woman to what you see in this picture. Oh God, I'm here. I'm sorry, y'all. So This is when we find out that this man had put something on my sister. My sister got sick one day, really, I mean, I'm talking about throwing up, fever, barely can move out of the bed. We take her down to the hospital, and I'll never forget this ride. It was a very quiet ride. It was me, my mother, and my brother. And we get her to the hospital. Oh, they start running tests. They start doing, trying to figure out what's going on. And the doctor pulled my mom and them in the room, and I was like, I walked in the room too because that's my sister. I want to know what the fuck is going on. They told me to leave out of the room. When my sister and my mom walked back out, my mom had looked like somebody had sucked all the color out of her. And then my sister walked out and she had a smile on her face. I gotta burn some sage on this part. The doctors told my mom and my sister, I don't understand how your daughter is still walking around because her insides are completely black. Her organs have completely shut down. He said in his 30-something years of being a doctor in this practice, he has never seen anything like this before. My sister was basically a zombie walking. He had put the magic on her so bad that somehow her vessel was still able. And I'll never forget the time that I had to drop something off over to her house, and knocked on the door, whatever, and one of the kids came to the door. She was in the kitchen cooking, and I said, sis, what are you doing? She was like, I gotta cook for my husband. I gotta cook for my family because if I don't cook for them, they're not gonna eat. She never called this man her husband, y'all. The years that we knew him, how and who my sister was, she never called this man her husband. That is the first time that I've ever heard her call this man her husband. And that's how I knew that wasn't my sister. My sister was gone.